Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Monday night game last night turned out to be a dandy. 34-31, the Bengals won it. They moved to 6-6 in Jacksonville, dropped to 8-4. Jacksonville had a chance to take over the lead in the AFC for home field advantage. So you think about kind of where they were a couple years ago with Urban Meyer and a dumpster fire and Trevor Lawrence and all that kind of stuff. Doug Peterson has that team kind of rolling. And of course, he coached the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl championship, and then after a couple of years, like everybody does, he lost his voice, not figuratively but literally, and they dismissed him, and he sat out a year, then took over Jacksonville. I
think you had the opposite. Figuratively, not literally.
Figuratively, yeah, not literally. Yeah. Figuratively, lost his voice, not literally. Right, you're right. Trevor Lawrence went 22 of 29, 258, but he left that game hurt. And I don't know the total nature. I think it was an ankle injury, but I don't know what the long-term effect for him is going to be. But C.J. Beathard came on in relief, and he has NFL pedigree in his history with his grandfather, who was Bobby Beathard, and I believe it was a great uncle for him, a guy by the name of Pete Beathard, who played back in the AFL days. He was quarterback. But C.J. Beathard, he's kind of bounced around, but he came in and was 9 to 10, 63 yards, but couldn't overcome the fact that the Bengals field goal kicker kicked them to a victory last night, 34-31. Bengals went with their white helmets and all white uniforms on the road last night in Jacksonville.
Good look, I like it.
It is a different look. There's no question about it. And like you said, I kind of, as I was watching that game, it's like, okay, I think I can get behind this. It was just different from seeing them with their orange and black. It was a white helmet with black stripes. It was like a white tiger, which is rare. You got to go to Vegas to see the white tigers. At least you used to. Those two guys.
None in the wild?
Well, I'm sure there's some in the wild, but you'd have to get in the wild to get to them. But the Bengals come back to win it. They were down 28-21 heading into the fourth. They get a touchdown to tie it, a field goal to take the lead, and then Jacksonville hits a 40-yard field goal with less than a minute to play, about 26 seconds, and then the Bengals get a 48-yard field goal in the overtime with 1:45 remaining. So obviously both teams had possession and win at 34-31. So that's the end of the week for football, and it all gets underway pretty quickly on Thursday night with the Steelers and the New England Patriots. Crazy to think, and I heard discussion of this weekend on Double T 97.3 from one of the hosts, that people are starting to actually feel sorry for the New England Patriots because of how badly they find themselves. And I don't know that I'm necessarily one of them. There's a part of me that wishes that Bill Belichick would be able to go out on his own accord, because I think he's earned that, with the number of Super Bowls he's won and what he's done for that franchise. But he has extended his existence to the point where he may be no longer existing with them. They're 2-10.
Yeah, I'm not feeling bad for.
Yeah, no, I understand. I like I said, started kind of, but not really. 2-10 is where the Patriots find themselves, and so there's all kinds of speculation that he might go somewhere else and take over as a football and GM of another organization if the Patriots let him go. Bullfighter writes in this with regard to Trevor Lawrence sprained his ankle, scheduled to undergo additional testing. And then they'll determine today the extent of the injury and how much time that he'll miss. Jaguar coach Said, I don't have any information on Trevor. We're still evaluating him. By the way, speaking of Doug Peterson, his son, who has been a bounce-around player for several teams, including the USFL, he's a tight end, was elevated from the practice squad last night. And they became the first father-son to be active in a game since the 70s. Back in 1976, John McKay, I believe it was 76, John McKay, who was a great coach for USC and led them to a national championship. This is when his son, J.K. McKay, was a receiver on that team. And they were together in Tampa Bay. John McKay was one of those other coaches that terrific in college, but horrible in the National Football League.
Not the first, probably won't be the last.
No, it just didn't convert for him. But at any rate, I thought that was kind of cool. Last night, just seeing that guy's son on the sideline and thinking about, okay, the pressure that must have been on him and the dad. And I mean, I think you probably got to be really good, right? If you're the son of the coach in the National Football League, you've probably got to be really good to be able to get on the team, because people are going to be scrutinizing you pretty heavily.
Yeah, maybe.
That's kind of what I would think anyway. So 6:21 this morning, just a little bit of trivial trivia for you if you're looking for just a little bit of a conversation starter for the weekend parties, which will be coming up here in the next couple of days. Sometimes they start earlier at this time of year, the weekend parties.
Yeah, hopefully they're in the middle of the week, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Especially during the day, so you can just relax after that.
Sure. I mean, that does happen. That does happen. Some parties during the day that kind of take you out. You got to get out there and mix and mingle and commingle.
Yeah. Not for this company, though. Not doing that.
No, we're having a nighttime party. I think that's really cool.
Good.
I know. I feel like I'm not being hailed. I'm being blamed for this, because I've really pushed for this over the years.
And you really go for being hailed.
I'd rather be sure. We all would rather be hailed for something than blamed for something, right? I mean, that's just human nature, isn't it? I mean, we'd rather somebody give you a pat on the back as opposed to, oh God, I can't believe we have to do this. Heinz is making us do this, but that seems to be the mantra. Good news for a former Texas Tech quarterback, Jamie.
Okay.
Seth Daggy, who has been, he has had a number of different jobs, which is kind of what you have to do as you're kind of moving up the ranks. He is going to be the new offensive coordinator at Marshall.
Cool.
So he will leave
for him.
his position as the tight ends coach, and according to footballscoop.com, is going to be the offensive coordinator at Marshall. He has been at Bowling Green. He has been at USC. He has been at Ole Miss. I think he did some graduate GA work here at Texas Tech, obviously, and now is going to be the offensive coordinator at Marshall. There was a time where he left coaching briefly, and I think he was getting into the insurance business, and then I think he said to himself, you know what, I want to be a coach. And so he's gone to be a coach, and now is making a name for himself, and hopefully has some success there for the Thundering Herd. Their offense wasn't quite so thundering this year. Thus the need for a new OC.
Yeah, guess so.
So maybe he can light a match under him and see if he can fire him up. Give him a little Red Raider knowledge there.
Wish him the best of luck.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Handshakes, ketchup, hoops, balls, and strikes. Must be the Morning Drive on Double T 97.3.
Hey, good morning. It is 6:32 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Big 12 basketball tonight. There's two Big East, Big 12 battles that are left. Number 19, Oklahoma at 7-0 plays host to Providence. They're 7-1. Kansas State plays host to Villanova. Battle of Cats tonight.
Cats.
Kansas State's 6-2. Villanova's 6-3. Villanova's actually favored in this game by 2.5 points. Number 2, Kansas plays host to Kansas City. They used to be called UMKC. They're the Kangaroos. Joe Esposito, who was assistant coach here at Texas Tech, is an assistant on that Kansas City staff. Baylor at 8-0 and ranked 6th. They'll take on Seton Hall in a Big East Big 12 battle. So there's actually 3 of them tonight. They have yet to open their new arena. I think that's supposed to be for the start of Big 12 play.
Okay.
So they're still playing in the Farrell Center. The new arena is across the highway, kind of over there by the everything's by the river now. They got the football stadium and their nice tennis complex, and now the basketball arena. It's going to be a multi-purpose, I think, event center. They'll have concerts there and stuff like that. Number 14, BYU is in action against Evansville. They're 7-0. BYU is favored by 24.5 tonight. And then Oklahoma State plays at Southern Illinois. Oklahoma State is 3-4 on the season. I'm really curious to see what BYU is going to be like in the Big 12.
Basketball-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had a great basketball program, but it just doesn't feel like right now they're there. It's very similar to what I felt about them football-wise. This right now is not their peak.
Sure, but I mean, they're ranked 14th. So are they?
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, somebody must think they're pretty good.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think it's a good program. I don't
disagree with that.
I think we've seen them be really good. Obviously, they're better than most or many in the Big 12. Okay, so I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for them in Big 12 play, just like everybody else. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And amongst the new teams, are they going to be the best? Cincinnati is also 7-0. Houston, you would say, would be the best. They would be the best. I mean, they're ranked 3rd in the country right now, and obviously they have it rolling. And UCF is 5-2 on the season. And look, I'm not going to tell you that I can break down all these rosters or anything like that. I'm just curious once we get into Big 12 play, how the shakeout is going to occur.
And that's what makes kind of fun what we've got going on, not only this year, but then we're going to have it again next year. You're just seeing new teams and new programs and figuring out how good they are and how good they're not, all the above. Yeah,
because I mean, if you look at historically on the men's side, BYU has been a tournament team. They've had great players come through. Same thing with Cincinnati. They've had great players come through. And they've had players, and they've been to Final Fours, and things like that. It's been quite some time, but they have a history of that. And then the same thing with Houston, obviously. They've had, great teams in the past, and even the most recent past with their current coach of going to a Final Four. So, and poised like they could get to another one this year. But I'm going to be really interested to see when they have to be in the fight every single night in the Big 12, how does that translate for them? Because previously they've not had to be in the fight every single game.
Yeah, not an easy task,
right?
To navigate through all of that.
The wear and tear and how that works for them through the season. And then UCF, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were at the bottom of the Big 12, just because that's a big transition for them. That's a big transition for them. So we'll see as we get towards the end of the year here, and then Big 12 play on the men's side will start right after the first of the year. On the women's side, the Lady Raiders play at Houston on December 30th. So that's a Saturday afternoon game. So that will get them started in the Big 12 right before the start of the new year. We're in that portal period right now, and then we're also right now in the period of players deciding if they're going to play or not going to play. One who's not going to play, and I guess it makes sense for him, but I hate it. I hate that this is what we've come down to, but I understand it, because if he gets hurt, there's no protection for him. But the former Heisman Trophy winner, in fact, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams from USC, is not going to play in the Holiday Bowl against Louisville on December the 27th. And so...
No surprise, right?
No surprise. He has yet to declare for the draft, but it doesn't seem likely that he would return, especially if he's going to skip the bowl game. And what does he have left to prove with another school? He's right now a prohibitive favorite, according to this article, to be in the top 3 of the 2024 NFL draft. And we're talking, you're in the top 3, I mean, that's a multi-million-dollar contract. I mean, there's not an NIL deal out there that's going to,
Sure.
Am I sure? No, I'm not sure of anything right now.
In a rookie deal, he's not going to get paid that much.
No, but I mean, you would think it's more than an NIL deal, right?
I don't know what those guys. I mean, they signed like 3 or 4 year deals for $12 million or something like that on their rookie deals. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what the rookie deal is. I would tell you.
It's after that first one where they really
sure,
get
that's
paid.
what the cash in is. Right, right. But even the rookie deal is, especially for a top 5 draft pick, is going to be really, really good.
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good. But
and life-changing money.
Yeah. So he's out, and of course we're in this portal period right now, and I would just be, and I'm sure somebody's done the research on this. I have not. I would just be interested to see how many of these kids that go into the portal don't come out of the portal and find themselves high and dry. That think they're
I know that happens to some.
Yeah, that feel like, well, I'm not getting a good enough. Let's just use Texas Tech. Hey, I'm just playing special teams. I'm going to go in the portal, and then you go in the portal and you go, oh, nobody wants me more than where I was, but you can't go back. You could, but generally speaking, it's a one-way street going into the portal from your previous place, and the only way out is to go somewhere else.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We'll have hoops on the air for you tonight. Lady Raiders and Sam Houston State at 5:30 on 100.7 The Score and 107.7 Yes FM. Tip at 6. And 6:15 tonight on 93.1 Texas FM. The Liberty Girls take on Lubbock Christian, and then the boys' game to follow. Okay. Tomorrow, Red Raider basketball, they take on Omaha, and we'll have that game for you. The broadcast at 6, the tip at 7 here on Double T 97.3. Grant McCasland is the head coach of the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and he talked the other day about what his team and what he and they are looking for on offense.
Honestly, I think it's about what the defense is, honestly, and you got to find ways to leverage the defense. I'll tell you this, with this group, the push and transition has to be consistent for us because we need to create those opportunities. And I think where we find our biggest strength is when we're able to create leverage on the rim before we shoot threes. So really it's just continuing to grow in that area where there's an efficiency in our head, like this isn't going to be the best shot, so how do we try to create a better one? And really, I don't know if it's about 2s or 3s, because sometimes I think we need to shoot more 3s in games as long as it gets inside first, and instead of throwing up bad 2s. That was the balance the other day. I mean, we finally got into the paint and did have some good looks, but we were going away from the rim on a few of them. It's like, hey, that's not even the right one, It's like, let's put all of it together. And so I think it's just about taking what the defense gives and not settling for early 3s.
The settling, inside out of the game, and that's just so many times you see. It seems like in a college game where you're kind of into a rhythm, and then somebody goes down and feels like, okay, chance for me to be a hero, and throws up a 3, and it just kind of throws everything off.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of what Coach McCasland's saying there. He still wants 3s. It's a big part of the game. It's just how do you get them? You know, and are they, quick drive down the court and pull up 2 steps behind the arc, or is that where you get a paint touch and move the ball around and pass to an open shooter? It's a completely different deal.
Yeah, we're kind of in a wonky part of the season here because you haven't played since last Thursday. You're going to play tonight or tomorrow night, and then you're going to be idle until the 12th because of finals. But the next game might be your toughest home game of the season, in which you'll play Oral Roberts. But I don't know how tough it's actually going to be because it's not the Oral Roberts of maybe what you saw a couple of years ago or 3 years ago when they were a tournament team. One of the guys that has really kind of turned it up for the Red Raiders from an offensive standpoint is Joe Toussaint. He has 3 double-doubles this season, and he's a guy that's really, I thought, led the charge so far. And here's Coach McCasland on Toussaint.
Joe's learning when he first started, it was like, hey, how do I assert myself to score, and not necessarily what does the team need on an offensive possession. Now he's trying to find that balance. And to be honest, early we missed a bunch of threes, and I think he would have averaged over 8 assists through those first few games, but we missed quite a few open looks. So to his credit, he stayed the course, but I think what he's learned to do is utilize those forwards in a playmaking role, and that's what I loved about the last game. 2 possessions. One, he actually cut early and opened up a gap instead of going and trying to hunt the ball, which opened up an opportunity for somebody else. So that shows me he's starting to see how it all fits together. And then another one was, he had 12 assists, but he kept making the right play, and then he was stopping in those scoring areas and looking off maybe option 1, not seeing option 2, and going to option 3, which to me really shows that he's starting to see all of it and how all these guys' strengths fit, and give him a lot of credit. He's really wanting to learn, and his facilitating hadn't just been about him scoring first. It's been I need to attack to see what the best option is. He's learning those options quickly.
I said third. He had the third Red Raider double-double, not him having 3, so I misspoke on that. Toussaint had 18 and then 12 assists the other night. So it's about going from the good shot to get a greater shot, going from good to great, as opposed to just settling for something that, hey, I think I'm going to be okay here, but maybe finding somebody else that is more open or has a better shot, whether it's a 2 or a 3.
Right.
So that's good. So, for
I think Toussaint's at his best when he's going to the basket. I don't think I'm breaking any news here. I would like to see him take less threes. I think you have better 3-point shooters on the team. I think he's solid. I don't think he's terrible by any stretch. But I think he's at his best when he's going to the basket.
Yeah, so I'll be curious to see, what Chance McMillan does. What his next game is like. He had, not that you're going to duplicate what he did, against Butler with the 8 threes, but how does that help his confidence, moving forward, or the confidence in his teammates to get him the ball and look for him on the court?
Yeah, I don't think there's any struggle with the confidence of his teammates getting him the ball. And he's clearly confident taking the shot, but what I would love to see is now him in this next game not settling, right? And not just, hey, I made 8, so I'm going to make 8 every time. I'm just going to take every 3. I'd like to see him attacking the rim and see if he can be a guy that can really put pressure on the defense both at the rim and behind the arc.
Yeah, so again, we'll have Tech in Omaha tomorrow. Tip time is 7 o'clock. Our broadcast time is 6 p.m. on Double T 97.3. Then the Red Raiders will play Oral Roberts, and then they take on Vanderbilt in Fort Worth on the 16th, the same day as the bowl game, which is, it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
It's very unfortunate. Yeah,
because
really hate it.
Kind of feel like that game will affect folks that lived in Dallas or Fort Worth that would have gone to Shreveport and said, hey, we got an easy day trip here, or we do just a quick one-night stay, go watch the Tech take on Cal there in Shreveport in the Independence Bowl, but may now look and go, don't really need to do that. I'm going to just stay at home, go to Vanderbilt, and that's going to be a great game, great atmosphere, hopefully.
Now, especially if you've already bought tickets for the basketball game.
Sure. Dan in Dallas wrote in yesterday. He had a conundrum of which game to go to. My guess is he'll stick with the basketball, but I have no idea.
I would go to the one that you want to go to more. If you want to sell your Vanderbilt tickets, I bet you can.
You probably can find somebody. So you've got Omaha, Oral Roberts, then the neutral site game with Vanderbilt. You play UT Arlington at home right before Christmas. Come back and play Sam Houston on the 28th, and then North Alabama before you start Big 12 play on January the 6th. So you still have, handful of games plus 1, so 6 games left before Big 12 play starts. just after the first of the year when they go down to Texas to take on the Longhorns. First home game in Big 12 play will be on January the 9th against Oklahoma State. You have back-to-back home games, the 9th and then the 13th against Kansas State. A rare Saturday afternoon game, which I hate that because I love those Saturday afternoon games, and we just seem to have fewer and fewer and fewer of those as kind of the year goes on, or the years go on. Mm-hmm. But those 3 o'clock tip times, or even the I don't mind the 11 o'clock basketball game. I kind of like it, actually. It's, for whatever reason, I'm fine with the 11 a.m. basketball game, but not with the football game. But that's just kind of how my crazy little mind works sometimes. You do you, right?
That's it. Yeah. Everybody has.
You do you.
It so just all depends on how it fits everybody's schedule.
Do you have a better feeling at this point in time with basketball than you did at the start? I mean, you feel like you know a little bit more. Feel like you maybe have a little confidence there that maybe you didn't have at the start of the season just because you didn't know? I
wouldn't say that I'm over the top guaranteeing that they're an NCAA team at this point, but I would tell you I like how they play. Mm-hmm. I like that they play together. I've enjoyed watching them. So I feel better about the team a little bit, but I'm still not in the boat of saying, this team is definitely
guaranteed
postseason team.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something there. All right, Jamie's question of the day is next.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
I thought we were getting ready to hear by someone not named Jamie, but we're not. It's going to be Jamie.
It is going to be Jamie. Okay, so my question for you today is, give me 2 players that you are the most excited about moving forward, so after this season, for Red Raider football.
Okay. Most excited about them. Well, I'm going to go with my old standby. I still think he has a chance to really be really good for you, and that's Mason Tharp, if he can stay healthy.
Okay.
And maybe, low hanging fruit, because I think he's got a lot of upside. I should pick a defensive player, but I'm going to pick Baron Morton because I'm really curious what a 100% healthy next year. I don't know if you can get 100% by the bowl game, but a very, very healthy Baron Morton can look like for you as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, with an off season as the starters, reps, and all that good stuff. Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
I'll be honest, I'm a little afraid to answer this question. Because I haven't seen any portal updates today. And I don't want to say someone who's already entered the portal. I think Baron Morton's a good answer, although I need to see some improvement next year. So I don't know that it's really fair for me to say Morton at this point. Xavier White.
Oh, okay.
Might be one.
Isn't he graduating?
Is he graduated? I thought he had another year.
I think he's graduating or running out of eligibility.
Well then, let's go. Dunlop's the super senior. Man. It's tough because it's hard to pick somebody on offense for the struggles that you had that weren't Taj Brooks. I mean, and what I mean by Taj being, he was your steady Eddie on the offensive side. And you've had 4 of your 5 guys on the offensive line enter the portal. So those guys are out.
Is that right? 4 or 5 on the O-line?
I think it's 4 or 5 now. Or you've lost 4 guys on the offensive line. So that takes them out.
You want me to jump in while you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll take Ben Roberts.
I like that
just
answer.
Named co-freshman defensive player of the year in the conference. Terrific linebacker that I think is going to be really, really good. And I know his numbers are fantastic, but because he was partly injured this year, but I'm going to take Coy Aiken. I feel like he and Baron Morton are on the same page. I feel like he was your most consistent receiver at the end of the year, and I think he's only going to get better. So I think Aiken is your wide receiver that Morton is the most confident in.
Mm-hmm.
I think he showed some really good flashes, good possession receiver that can make some bigger plays too. Not afraid to go over the middle, tough guy. I like his game a lot. So that's the guy on offense, young player. Those are both freshmen, by the way. So that's good. Those guys are going to be around for a while, but I'm really excited about both of those two.
How about Joseph Adedire?
Yeah, I mean, he fought the injury bug this year.
But when he was healthy, he showed some flashes that were kind of
for the last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Xavier White is a super senior.
Yeah, I saw that.
And a guy that does have eligibility, but I think I'd be shocked if he came back, would be Taj Brooks. He's got a COVID year.
Taj, go to the NFL.
Probably
for your sake.
Because I mean, let's face it. What more does he have to prove? Because his next big test is what can he do at the with the NFL, his NFL camp, or anything that he's done, timing wise, or just getting himself ready. Is he going to get drafted? Is he going to be
I can't imagine that he would improve his stock if he stayed around a year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's the biggest point to me. I can't imagine that he would improve it. Would he improve the Red Raiders?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if he wants to stay, I'm here for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But for him as a running back, go start your NFL clock.
Yeah, and whether that's in the NFL or a different professional league of some sort, I'm not sure. Okay, but yeah, I don't think he has really would raise his stock, and I think he's got a chance to make an NFL roster and do some good things. So I surely would not count him out.
7:37 this morning here on the morning drive. Somebody says this: Micah Hudson, whom we've not even seen yet, Coy Aiken and Ben Roberts. And any transfer portal people coming to Texas Tech? I'm certain there are. They did get a transfer of a tight end yesterday from a junior college, but I'm sure that you'll have some players that maybe previously had been recruited by Tech or some of these coaches when they were either here or at Baylor or elsewhere that they have a relationship with. It's funny, I was listening to Two Pros and a Cup of Joe this morning, and LeVar Arrington was talking about that, and he was saying with regard to kids in the portal, of people that he has taught to and players that he has taught to, for the most part, these kids that are going to other places, they go into the portal, and when they come out, they generally have had a relationship with one of the coaches from one of these teams because they were recruited by him. And they know him. So it's like, and part of his point was the kids going into the portal, a lot of kids are sitting at home and they've given up their scholarship, they've given up their education, they've given up, what they had in hopes of going and bettering their lie, and you can't always do that. You can't always better your lie, but for the most part, these kids that are being recruited by other schools, obviously there's a talent level, but there's a relationship level too of what that coach knows, that position coach knows of what that potential could be out of that player if they got coached up right or if they were in the right situation.
Sure.
So,
yeah, a lot of times there's a relationship because it never stopped.
Well, there's probably that too, right? There's probably that too.
Some might call that tampering.
Some might call that tampering. Some might call that, hey, I'm just returning a call that I got. Mm-hmm. The only reason Taj would stay is if someone ponied up a ton of money and made financial sense for that young man to stay. If not, chase that dream and try to get on an NFL roster. Yeah, and I don't know that it would take a ton of money because there's no guarantee for him in the NFL that he's going to make a team or a practice squad. The practice squad players, it's like $5,000 a week, which is good money, obviously. But you've got to get on that practice squad too and be able to stay on it. But I think the conventional wisdom would be he's going to go to the NFL. Now the question is he going to play in the bowl game? That's another question for you.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
The sounds of Christmas Love it. I'm trying to get in the Christmas spirit. Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Got a kind of a candy cane cut tie on today. Okay,
good.
Got a Christmas tie on today that doesn't say Christmas on it. Just looks like Christmas. And then I've got Santa socks on today.
Santa socks. Horse name.
Santa socks today. So
okay, here's probably a terrible take.
Okay.
One of the most overrated things in the history of ever
is what?
Candy canes.
Really? I love a good candy cane, especially the little mini ones. That kind of give you a little.
I mean,
kick.
you're constant. Your hands are sticky.
Oh, I know,
the side of your mouth is sticky. The flavor is not great. They break all the time. I mean, the wrapper is even like a pain in the backside to get off.
That's why you got to go the mini ones.
Yeah,
the mini ones. So you can just put the whole thing in your mouth. You can put the whole thing in your mouth. Just suck on it. The little mini ones.
I've never tried the whole candy cane in my mouth trick.
The little mini ones.
How many are we talking? That's still like that long.
Oh, no. It's about the size of a pretzel or maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, the little mini ones.
I need you to show me one the size of a little pretzel.
Okay. I'm sure the lucky lady's got some.
That's what I'm thinking. That's still long. You could break that in half, maybe.
People have told me that I've got a big mouth, so there you go.
Somebody on the chat line asked if I'm eating it like a 5-year-old. I just maybe so, Kobe. I don't know. I think they're overrated. I don't think the flavor is really even anything.
Okay. So is that kind of you're kind of hating on the candy cane like some hate on candy corn?
I don't hate it.
You don't hate it?
I don't hate it.
Okay.
This is not my thing.
What's your thing? Okay.
And it seems like people love them.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. One of those December things.
I do hate candy corn.
With regard to Marvin Harrison Sr., and this person says, I hadn't heard about Harrison. I just read more up on it. I did too. It's pretty clear he was involved in a shooting, which a man would survive. But then later that year, half a block from his bar, that man was gunned down and died. And there's some thought that it was his cousin that was involved or his gun. I mean, it's a long, sordid mess. So you have to kind of look at his son and go, his son, I don't know if his son's a model citizen, but just the mere fact that his son has put himself in a position where he could potentially win a Heisman Trophy is pretty impressive. When you kind of have a little bit of a turbulent home life or father. I mean, sometimes you can overcome others.
Yeah, but I mean, he still grew up loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvin Harrison was an NFL superstar.
Sure.
I mean, he had the best of everything.
Sure. You're right. No, you're right. I mean, but still, though, you have to have the capacity to overcome some of the distractions of things like that. You know, that sometimes I don't know.
Even the rich kids get mixed up.
Yeah. And I don't look. We were extremely middle to very middle class. I mean, when I say we were very middle class to the point where if you went to McDonald's, I mean, it was like once or twice a year. That was a big damn deal. So, and I know that you did as well. So, I mean, and I didn't know what it was like to be among the haves. We were kind of just in the middle of the haves and the have-nots. We were just the Heinzes. Who are you guys? We're just the Heinzes. We kind of were. We had our own challenges, right? Everybody does. 8:06 this morning here on the morning drive. Okay, so an observation from last night. I was here in the compound working while the high school fan zone was on, and leaving, listening to Garrett Luft on 100.7 The Score, and he had the Estacado wrestling coach on, and he was talking about one of his wrestlers whose name is AJ Ramos. And I texted Garrett and I go, is that like AJ Ramos' son or something? And I don't know if AJ's old enough to have a son in high school. Maybe, I don't know. And he didn't know. The coach was going to check that out. So maybe he's just a cousin or, something along those lines, or just could be a coinkydink, same name. But Estacado, AJ Ramos kind of makes you wonder, hey, was it the guy that played baseball there and at Tech? Okay. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I found interesting, and this is kind of the observation that I made from last night, and listening to Estacado wrestling coach. I always had great respect for the wrestlers in my high school because I feel like that's just a sport where it's man on man, right? And the physical nature of it and the preparation that goes with that is it's unspeakable. I mean, just in terms of what they do, and a lot of sports you could say, well, the conditioning and everything, but it just seems like wrestling is one of those ones that you've got to be a pretty well conditioned person to be able to wrestle and be successful. But Garrett asked him about cutting weight, and apparently they've changed the weight cutting deal, because it used to be, like the wrestlers would weigh in and then they'd have to cut 2 or 3 pounds by the time that they got to their matches. So
was that 3 pounds?
Well, a couple. I mean, you see, I just remember.
I've been through that. It was more like ounces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple pounds is maybe that's
yeah.
That's probably overstating it, but that's what you expect.
I've been through all that.
But I just remember the wrestlers in our high school doing laps around the pool while we were going through swim practice, and seeing those guys in their sweatsuits. And maybe you were one of those guys, Jamie, that had to do that. But apparently now the way that they do it is you weigh in that Saturday morning or weigh in the day of your deal. You have a weight at the beginning of the season, and you weigh in the day of, and then you're wrestling within an hour. So the days of weight cutting day of are over, which is probably healthier for the kids that are involved in that.
Yeah, we would, you show up on a Saturday morning or whatever for a tournament, and you would have to weigh in pretty early, and if you didn't make weight, they would say, nope, you're 3 ounces, you're 4 ounces over, whatever. If you're going to be in this weight class, if not, you're going to be in a higher weight class that might be 5 pounds heavier. And so you would get the sweatsuit on, and then there was also this basically looked like a sweatsuit made out of a garbage bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you would run. And then you would run. Then you would come back and you'd strip down to almost nothing and get up there, and they'd let you weigh again, see if you lost weight. And by that time, I feel like you made yourself exhausted.
Sure.
You were doomed to have a terrible day on the mat. But, oh well, unfortunately, experienced that plenty of times.
Yeah. No, it's I had great respect for the wrestlers, just all that they did.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.